in KZN, Judge Nkosinathi Chili is today expected to chart the way forward in the former President Jacob Zuma's attempted private prosecution of State Prosecutor, Advocate Billy Downer and journalist Karyn Maughan in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg. Zuma has accused Downer, who is the lead prosecutor in the former president's corruption trial, of leaking a confidential doctor's letter to Maughan. Yesterday, a full bench of the Pietermaritzburg High Court granted an urgent order brought by Downer and Maughan that Zuma's private prosecution be halted. SABC News reporter Jayed Paulse now joining us live from the court. Jayed, good morning and thank you so much for making time for us. What do you expect to transpire today in court, also considering the judgment that was handed down yesterday by the full bench?
Well, a very good morning to you, Aldrin, and to the viewers back at home. And I'm sure all eyes will be on the the Pietermaritzburg High Court, as they are awaiting to catch a glimpse of the former President Jacob Zuma, as well as legal journalist Karyn Maughan and the senior state prosecutor in his corruption trial, arms deal trial, Billy Downer. And yes, that judgment was handed down yesterday, but there seems to be a lot of confusion, Aldrin. There's several appeals that have been made since June, and to break this all down in layman's terms for us so that we can understand why we are here today, even though judgment was granted in favor of Downer and Maughan. I am joined by Mpumelelo Zigalala. Thank you so much for joining us. He is a legal analyst. We have seen several appeals since June, since the first appeal. Yesterday, again, another appeal on the cards. We are also told in an earlier court appearance by, Dali Mpofu, that he's definitely going to be appealing this. But you and I spoke yesterday, and one thing that stood out for me and was very interesting is that this application that Maughan and Downer has actually brought has opened the doors for the legal team of Zuma to go right to the SCA. Just explain that to us.
Definitely it has. Let's look on the ordinary, in the ordinary sense. A person would lose a case at the Pietermaritzburg High Court. You would need to file a notice of leave to appeal in the very same judges that denied you of that found against you. That would be decided. Judgment will come back on that one. If you are successful, you then go to the SCA. If you are not successful, you then petition the SCA. Now, in instances in where Section 18 of the Supreme Court Act has been used, it basically means that if you, as the winning party, say that you want the effectiveness or the execution of this order to be immediate, then they say, we are going to give you that. However, you must note that there's no leave to appeal or notice which is going to be submitted in the same court. Automatic appeal is then going to be granted to the SCA. So yesterday, by the granting of the order which was granted yesterday by this court, it then opened the doors for the former president to then go to the SCA without having to fight his case first within the Pietermaritzburg High Court. So it was a boosting moment, so in a sense, because what then happened is that the former president within those few hours was able to file his notice to appeal, and once it has been filed, it basically means that we are back to square one. We are back in a space in which the order which was granted by this court is as if it has never been granted before, as your matter is now going to be dealt with by the SCA.
Just reading through the court documents yesterday, they cited the reasoning for favouring Maughan and Downer as irreparable harm to both of them. And I think this was the premise of those documents, that they did not want to come to court. They wanted the set aside. They wanted the former president not to take further action. But where does this leave us now with the appeal made by Zuma's legal team?
It's basically moot. So whatever judgment which was issued yesterday, yes, it may be effective, but its effectiveness was only was short-lived, because you are back to where, in the instance in which you did not want to appear in court in the first place. So there's no gain that has been made or that has been achieved by them in the practical sense, because despite you putting up a big fight, despite the order being in your favor, you are still back at the Pietermaritzburg High Court on Friday as accused individuals. In fact, what you have done is that you've lessened the load, because ordinarily there would have been a notice to appeal in this court, fighting or an arguments being made in this court first before you go to the SCA, but now you simply open the doors and elevated them to the SCA without putting up as a single fight.
What do you think will possibly come out of today's proceedings?
I think today is going to be very brief, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, just to ascertain the state of readiness between the parties and to ascertain when is the next date in which they can be able to start and either do a pre-trial conference if it needs be, or if they're going to want to wait for all these matters which are taking place, especially the one which is taking place in the SCA, then they would say, let's wait for that first before we come back. But I don't think it's going to be more than 5-10 minutes.
Let's move on to the corruption trial. So obviously this is a private prosecution. Separate to that is the arms deal trial. This is actually running parallel.
Definitely. As it's supposed to be in our courts, whenever there's a cause for concern that is there, an accused individual is there, you need a judge, presiding officer, and people who are going to represent them to say, come, let's deal with the matter and all the accusations that are there. The NPA will do the prosecution and the defense will defend.
Before I let you go, Mr. Zigalala, I also want you to touch on what's currently transpiring in the former Mayor Zandile, Gumede, as well as 21 others. You do know that the media has been banned from showcasing the broadcasting of any of the witnesses as well as the audio. Just your views on what's currently transpiring in that trial.
It was quite strange. Remember that the access to the media is actually a court order that was made by the court. So if you're going to ban it, there must be an individual who's going to make an application, or there must be provisions of that order that has been broken. But as a judge, you can't unilaterally change the order that you have made. There needs to be a process which is made. Now, the rationale behind it is that courts are public platforms, unless that's the general rule, unless there are exceptional circumstances that order it not to be so. Now, in that case, it is a public matter, concerns taxpayers' money. It concerns very prominent political individuals, and members of the public do have a right to go and listen to it. There are provisions that you can be able to put in there, like saying, do not show the visuals of the accused or even the witnesses who are going to give evidence, but order can be obtained. But inherently, is these two rights that need to be protected. The right to freedom of speech includes the freedom of the media, and secondly, Section 35, the rights of the accused for their matters to be dealt with in an open court. An open court must be taken within the context of 2023. That even when sitting at home, I must be able to see what is happening in that court, to see that everything has been done in a transparent manner. So I do think maybe to take from the media side to then say, let's take this matter in a much more formal manner. Maybe an application would need to be made, and formal discussions with the judge to say, how can we find a middle ground in this process? There are two competing rights that need to be protected, and it can't be that you're going to have a court which is exclusively non-touchable, or the media that cannot have access to it.
We do know that there has been witnesses that lives have been threatened. I mean, this has played out in the media. We have also been reporting on that. But one thing that struck me or stood out for me was the fact that some of the accused are allowed their cell phones, whereas we as the media have to hand over our cell phones to security. So I think that it's true what you're saying. We do need to take it up as the media.
Definitely. And if you look at it in this sense, the media does not have access to witnesses. It's the legal representative of the accused that have all the statements that are there. Now, within that particular statement, you would see an ID and address and all those things that are there. So it was a bit strange. It's something that needs to be taken out.
Mr. Zigalala, thank you so much for joining us. Well, Aldrin, just unpacking two of the biggest court cases happening here in KwaZulu-Natal. The first one being the former President Jacob Zuma. Second being former Mayor Zandile Gumede and 21 others. I'm just going to see if I can't grab Mr. Mzwanile. Mani, thank you so much, Mr. Mani, for joining us. Yes, I see you've made it in time. Yeah. Just your thoughts on what transpired yesterday.
It was a really complete waste of time what had happened there. In fact, I think what just happened, that judgment that got issued on the eve of this one, was just choreography by judiciary. It was an attempt with the cooperation of the judiciary to frustrate what should happen today. And in fact, you know, these advocates, Dalimpofu and Masuku, were even making a bet last week to say this might happen. The other one said this might not happen. I think Dali has won. He predicted this. And in fact, our papers to launch the appeal were already prepared, because we knew that this is a kind of game that the judiciary is participating in, just to make sure that these two accused don't appear in court. But unfortunately, Dali was one step ahead. We're ready. That's why the appeal was filed. This is why that the both accused will be in court today, Karyn Maughan and Billy Downer, and they will face the judges with the red robes. And this is far from over. So this whole champagne that they had yesterday was a real a hollow victory, because they're back in court today, and they'll continue to be, and will ensure that justice is done.
Before I let you go, just have you spoken to the former president, and how is he doing since he has arrived from Russia?
His Excellency President Zuma is in very high spirits. His checkups and observations went well. Yeah, he's good, he's ready, he's fit, he's ready. So he's ready to weather the storms. So none of this is going to break him down. He's a strong man, he's got character and all of that. So all these witchcraft around him, he's going to wither right through it.
Will you share any details as to why he went to Russia with us, Mr. Maughan?
No, he went there for a checkup. And whilst he's there, obviously, we would have had 1 or 2 meetings with other people, I don't know. But the main thing was really just a check-up and observation and all of that. And all systems are good. President Zuma is in good health.
Thank you so much for talking to us. I'll let you go into court.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Well, Aldrin, court is expected to start shortly, but we'll be giving you all that live coverage from the private prosecution and also what is going to take place today in court. We are expecting a postponement on the cards, but we'll have to hear for how long and exactly what is going to be said by the judge with regards to the matter and what currently took place yesterday as well. So I'll hand back to you and try and make my way into court as well and grab a seat. But we'll be bringing you all that live coverage on SABC News. It's back to you.